Okay, hey guys, in this lesson, we're going to be building a simple card component. So the this is what we're going to be building essentially, and the link to the starter files are kind of here in my blog post. So this is essentially my blog, and it's kind of clean. There's no ads on it yet, and you can find the starter files here and kind of explain the step-by-step tutorial. So as this is the final file, so as for the starter files, you're going to see that in the description down below, and this will also be in the description down below. So this is what I'm sorry, I'm going to remove this. So when you get the starter file, this is essentially what you get, and we can open this in a in a live development. Essentially, we have that now, and you can see that our preview 3 is properly there. So according to the blog post, in the blog post it even has the starter files here. Forgot to mention that. So in the blog post, we're gonna have a main. So inside that main, we're gonna have a div class of container. So let's just be coding this side by side, so it doesn't appear that we're too fast. So we're gonna have a main. So inside our main, we're gonna have a div class of container, and inside of here, we're gonna have a div class of card. And when you're designing this kind of div, we have to have a left and a right div. So left and a right. So the left, you normally think you use the image like that, but it's actually going to be a background image. So as for that, this guy is going to be in the preview is going to be in H4. So we could just highlight this here, then we could put it inside the H4. Okay, nice, nice. And for the H1 is a little bit tricky because we're using a break tag. We're using two break tags here. And why are we using break tags? It's just so that it can make everything simpler. Or else would have been using span. That's a bit complicated, but this will make everything simpler. So the next thing is that we're going to wrap this in a paragraph tag. So paragraph tag. Paragraph. So this is H1 break, whatever this is, break. Then that. So we're going to have this. Oops. Control Z, and I just want to close up this sidebar. P. So we have it well inside the paragraph tag, and let's look at our design so that we know what we are designing to. So let's increase the view. So this text container essentially is the 1499 and this little text here. But this thing you don't realize that you're actually using Flexbox to control the layout. That's why we use Flexbox to control it. It gives us more flexibility because this is not display inline or whatever you might be thinking. So we say text container. We put the big text, the small text. And finally, we're gonna have a button, and that button is gonna have an image. So we have this add to cart image there. So copy, and the button should go right below the text container div. So paste, save. So again, we have a button, and inside the button we have the icon.xvg, and we can put an alt here, so icon. Then we have the add to cart. So we can remove this. We don't really care about this. Save. Okay, yeah, this is what we get. So let's just do the CSS quickly. So link to the CSS. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a style.css. and let's look at the CSS code. So the first thing that we want to do is that I said you can find this color in the style guide, and that's absolutely true. So as you can see, this is the color that we're using essentially. Yeah, this is the color here, cream. So what we just do here, and I'm going to explain it, is that, oops. So we give the body a background color of cream because the body isn't white. So let's look at it again. The body isn't white. You can see it isn't white. It's kind of creamy. So that's why we give it that background of cream. And if we look at it here, actually save. We haven't saved our index, so let's just save all. Okay, see we have that creamy background. And the system UI just changed the font. Actually, I'm supposed to use a font from Google Font, so that's just a shortcut for now. So we have a container inside of it, right? The container is just right outside the main. So what we can do in the container, so this is Flexbox code. I'm going to explain it. So in the container, this is going to give it a display of flex. Just file content center is centered on the x-axis, and center centered on the y-axis, and the mean height 100 pixels gives it the full width. Sorry, the full height, so we can see that centric. So save, and if we come here, we can see that centered. Look at it, it's centered. It's centered. So if you might still be confused about this, if I remove the mean height of 100 view heights, for example, and I save this, you can see it doesn't center because it's not taking the full height. Finally, so this one is a little bit more complex, so we're going to take this one step by step. So, oops. So the left, there's two divs, left and right, background image and the text. So the left is having a width of 50% because the other 50% is going to go to the right. And it also has a height of 450 pixels. This is very important so that we can have our background image. Then we give it a background position of center, background size of cover. Then we give it the border top and left radius. So this is essentially, save it, and we see this radius here. This is what is given there. So we are coming in close. So the right div, what we're just giving it here is we're giving it a width of 50% and a margin of 20 pixels. Because if you see here, there is a space here. This tiny space, that's what we're giving it a margin for. And we make it take the other 50% that we left here. So the card. So the card is gonna have a width of 600 pixels, a background color of white, a display of flex, and a border top right radius 10 pixels, border bottom right radius 10 pixels. So a good example of this would be for us to see it ourselves. So 600 pixels essentially, that's pretty straightforward. Background of white. I said remember that the body is not white and it makes the card stand out. And display flex because we want to keep the left and right side by side. So essentially we get this. Wow, and it's coming up pretty fast. So that text container did what we said we were going to flex it, and now is the time we're flexing it. So text container display flex alignment of centers. So what the alignment of center does is that refresh it. Okay, it centers it on the y-axis. So if we just remove it now, it's not going to be okay. The reason why we're not noticing is because one is not bigger than the other. So we'll come back and comment it out and show you the difference. So the H4, let's attend to the H4. So the H4 has some spaces in between the letters there, and that is called letter spacing. And a CSS property, letter spacing 3 pixels, and we'll just give the H for a color of gray. So yeah, we got something similar. Then on here, what we do is that we give the p tag a color of gray, line height 25 pixels. So color of gray is pretty self-explanatory, but the line height of 25 pixels might be a bit confusing. So the line height is just the space that it takes. So if we comment this out, see if you can see that the space between the line is kind of compressed, but when we give it 25 pixels, it's a bit more spaced out between the lines. So big text, the big text is our one is this guy here. Save. So the big text, we give it a font size of 30 pixels, font weight of bold, margin bottom 20 pixels, and color of this grainy color because it's actually kind of green. And remember, it can be found in the style guide. So if we come here, we refresh, we have that. So the small text, we also want the small text to have a color of gray and it has a line through effect. And the way we do that is by saying text decoration line through. So the button, this is quite a very long one because buttons are very difficult to style, but I'm going to break it down for you in the best possible way I can. So copy and let's paste it and let's explain. So button, when we style the button, remember that the padding is very important. Padding is what makes the button a button. Then we have to remove the border and the outline, and the color, we give it the color of white. So this is just some pseudo styles for styling custom buttons, some default styles for styling custom buttons. Now the button has an image, right? It has an image, and when two elements are side by side, we use flex box. You can use CSS grid, but flex box is the most easiest. And we give it align line on center where x on the y-axis, y just file content on the x-axis. In the background color, remember that the button is also greenish and it has the color of white. And we just give it a width of 80% and a border radius of 10 pixels because it has 10 pixels of border. Because that's some rounded corners, sorry. Pretty good. So now, just slide something like this too is a bit too close. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it padding right 10 pixels, copy, save. So that spaces it a little bit. So now we want to target for devices below 600 pixels. So this is basically responsive design. So for responsive design, I'm just going to type this one out here because I don't want to paste everything at once. So media, what this media does is I set max width of 600 pixels, and 600 pixels means max width means when the device is less than 600 pixels. Min width is the direct opposite. So when the device is less than 600 pixels, we want this styles to apply. First of all, so we're done with the desktop essentially. As you can see, it's looking pretty good, right? Looking pretty good. So now let's do the mobile. So the card we know is a flex container, right? So we're gonna give it a colon, and colon is gonna reverse it the way it was before. So essentially, when it gets below 600 pixels, it's gonna flip like this. So this is what colon does. So now we're gonna give the right a width of 80% because there is margin, remember, and that's why we're giving it a width of 80%. Then the button a margin of 10 pixels. And the left, we want to do a whole bunch of things here. So let me explain them one by one. So what we want to do there is that we want to change it from mobile to desktop. As you can see, we put image product desktop before. Now I want to change it to mobile. And we want to position it center, background size cover, and the border radius configurations. So the border bottom left. The bottom left. 0 pixels. The top left 10 pixels. So essentially, let's see that in action. So it just canceled the ones that were beneath it and gave it top and top here. So if we go smaller, so let's look at the Chrome Dev tool so that we can get some more accurate readings. Now 5 or whatever. So I think the front-end method specification is 375 pixels. So let's keep on working to get there. So finally, we just give the break tag display of none and the big text margin of 10 pixels. So all our break tags, we give them, we cancel them out. We don't want to see them again because they are not there in the mobile. Just to show you, they are not there in the mobile. Okay, this is what we have designed to here. So we pretty much tried. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like, and I'll catch you in the next one.